Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Jesus on a John Boat. I'm your host, Mikey Ayala, and we are on episode 11. And we have a special guest today, man, someone who I don't want to say grew up with because part of my, I guess, adolescence, but mainly we met in high school at Forest Lake Academy in Florida, and man,
Mhm.
and Ben Curet is a legend in Florida. He's the man.
Infamous.
No way, no way. But anyways, Ben Curet, everyone. Ben, I'll let you take it away. Kind of tell about yourself. Tell them who you are.
Yeah. All right. Like Mikey said, my name is Ben. Wasn't born in Florida, but basically lived there my whole life. I think I was like less than a year old when we moved from Massachusetts down to Florida, and I was raised Adventist. My dad is the first and only Adventist on his side, and then my mom goes back to like generations. Think I think when the evangelists hit, or the missionaries, I guess, whatever, hit Puerto Rico, it goes back that far, I'm pretty sure. So,
First
yeah,
preacher
man, went to,
family, like preacher to family, direct.
My family on her side has like been Adventist since Adventism like got to Puerto Rico.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, my dad's story is real cool. And it was good growing up because like you get both aspects of like that life where like my dad, like I said, he wasn't Adventist till he was like in college, like later on in life. So he had all this like let me say normal life experience, and then you get like the rich history of Adventism, and you get both of those mixed together. I had a pretty cool upbringing. My
Balance.
mom's a balance, yes, yes, yes. And my mom is she's a teacher, or she's a principal now. And then my dad was a firefighter, just retired like 2 years ago now, I think. It's almost 2 years that it's that he's been retired. So, but yeah, I like I said, Mikey said I went to FLA, and it was at FLA that like my senior year that I was like oh, Jesus, pretty cool actually. And yeah, I from there decided, you know what, I'm gonna change my life around. What I really want, like what I was gonna do with my life was like, and like went to the side and was like, I'm gonna do theology. And so I went to Southern and did the whole theology thing, and then I got picked up by Florida Conference and went to Andrews and did the whole seminary thing, and then pastored down in Gainesville, or I guess right now I'm back in Orlando, so up in Gainesville for 2.5 years and transitioned out of that as a story. And then, so like, I was like, let me go do the pastor thing. And then after I was pastoring, I was like, let me come back and do what I was originally going to do the whole time. So now you will catch me in the aviation industry, specifically like commercial aviation. I went back and got all the licenses, private instrument, commercial. I did my CFI. Got a CFII check ride scheduled up here pretty soon. Gonna start taking on full-time students and just teaching and racking up the hours to get to an airline someday.
So
You're caught up. Yeah.
you're currently a pilot and an instructor.
Yep. Yep. So if we go, and a father, yeah, that's the newest thing. That just happened a few months ago. Yeah, Abigail, she was born April 5th, and that's been so lit. Uh, No, man, she's great. Make all the other parents jealous right now that she has slept through the night since she was born. I think last night she slept like 9 hours. It's awesome. That
You
is awesome.
are blessed. You're
I
blessed.
know. When that sleep regression hits, it's gonna hit me hard because like it's gonna be like, oh, we've been saving this up.
She's
People
like,
told us,
joke's on you.
yeah, yeah. Everybody's been like, oh, just wait, it'll come, it'll come. And so the recent thing that people have been saying to us, like, just wait till she starts teething, you'll never sleep again. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll see. So far, she's been real good. But it's been a joy, man. Like becoming a dad has been really cool, and like there's just something about being a dad. Like I just feel like I gotta lock in now. Not that I haven't been locking in my whole life, but like I really gotta lock in. Like I'm not just doing this for me. You know.
There is a switch, and it
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
off.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I get that. I get that.
I don't know how to describe it until it happens to you. That you're like, it's not a game anymore.
Like there was one with your being a spouse. There was a switch, but you still have your
Mm-hmm.
moments where the spouse lets you be your
Yeah,
young.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Now it's like, I don't care, dude. Like you have to get it done. And so, no, it's powerful. Thank you for catching us up to speed on all that has been. Guys, for those of you who are watching, like Ben and I go way back. It's been a beautiful journey to watch God just move in Ben's life. And
Mm.
it's cool that we're going to talk to, like, normally I'm talking to pastors, which I'll still hold the pastor title for you. Once a pastor, always a pastor, right?
Nah, bro, it's stolen valor. People keep trying to be like, nah, but you're still a pastor. Like, I'm not though. Like, you're not gonna catch me in a board meeting. So like, I feel bad. I feel bad keeping the title, and I don't have all the scars and all the stripes.
I,
But
I
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I think there's something beautiful that, like, to be able to see the journey that God using in all the spaces that we go through. Very unique, and your story is very unique in this space of, like I said, normally I have the full-time pastors or
Yeah,
seminarians.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're all geeking out about, which, not hating on any one of us, I'm geeking out with them. I'm a pastor, right? So you and I are cool because we both did changes because I was originally business and stayed with that and thought that was going to be my track. And I go to pastoring, and then you were in pastoring and then go to this. But the cool thing is that God is still moving in those spaces. And we have
Yeah, 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 yeah.
no doubt that we know that God is leading this and that He's using this. And the pod centralizing today, like I said in the last episode, we're really going to start hyper focusing on real clear cut careers, choices that we make in life, and how do we actually let God lead in those spaces. And so
Mm.
I want to get into what does it look like, especially with everything that you have a background in it. So that's even cooler. Like now you have it, you know it. You can't go with, oh, I didn't know. Like you know everything that you know from the pastoring side and all those things, the experience that you have. And now you're transferring into a new career, but you're still a follower of Jesus, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's always, dude. That's always the follow-up question when you tell people like, no, like I stepped away from pastoral ministry, and they're like, oh, like, so like, how are you now? Like, are you like, because I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, because that's not true, but like at least 6 times out of 10, like somebody leaves pastoral ministry and then like, join me on my new podcast. I hate the church.
Well,
So
you're
that's
very
not
unique
me,
in that
you
sense.
know?
You're very unique in that space because you're not, this isn't a thing about that, or, it was just a transition. You made a transition to a different part of something you wanted to do that God's leading you in. And
Yeah.
so how do we take that and start living it now in 2025? You're a pilot, you're a father. What does it look like? I guess the tagline, the question of today is, how does a pilot follow Jesus? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, let's break that down. Where do we want to go from here? Do we want to say, I guess, like, what does it look like for you? Like, in that decision, let's go down from the moment it transferred. I want to see the,
Sure, sure, yeah, yeah. I'm fine talking about it, yeah.
okay, so like your transition from that,
Hmm.
where in the decision process was God for you in the pilot process?
Yeah, okay, so, all right. I'm fine talking about this, So the first question is always like, oh, so like, are you still Christian? And then the second question after that is like usually something like, did you like sleep with someone? Like, what did you do? You know what
These
I
seem
mean?
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, like, what did you mess up? And it's like, no, 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 like, I chose, right? For me and like for you and like probably any seminarian you're gonna talk to, like, you have that moment where you're like, yo, God called me to ministry, like God called me to like do something for him. And so, you go through 4 years of theology and then 3.5 to 2.5 years of or 2.5 to 3.5 years of seminary, and you're like, bro, I'm trying to change the world. And then this is not every single person's story. So I need to preface that because most people in our situation get put as like associates or something where like they're being mentored. But like for me, I got out.
I'm that right now, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, and like there are people who would kill. People who would kill to be in. Don't look down on yourself because there's all these people like, man, I wish I was a seat. No, you don't. No, you don't. So yeah, most people like they have kind of like their area, like your youth, right? So then like that's kind of like your domain, and you can do that. And But I got out of seminary like in the middle of COVID, and so like there were not people moving or doing anything. So they were like, "Listen, the only spot we have for you is this church up north, North Florida." And let me start by saying this: the people there are great. I just think I just didn't realize how much like maintenance it would be, right? So like you're like, dude, I want to like do Bible studies and I want to preach the gospel or whatever. And then I like in my case, what I found like literally 90% of my day was spent like, you know, making sure that the AC got paid or I mean electric bill got paid or like getting a quote for new windows or stuff that at the end of the day, not that it doesn't matter, but it was like, what did I do today that, like, if this day disappeared from history, would I have made a difference? Like, one of those things. So I started having these sort of like existential crises, man, and I'm just being like, what am I doing? Like, there was a part of me that started to feel more like a sort of like a glorified party planner or like event planner. Um, just with a spiritual twist on it. And I was like, that's not great, man. Like, so anyway, I just started to get really, really, really discouraged. I was like, man, all the things that I want to do, you start to realize like I don't have to be a pastor to do. Like
Mm.
I can preach. I don't need to be a pastor to do that, right? Like I want to like reach people where they are. I don't have to be a pastor to do that. And it's like there's this crazy concept of like, why don't you just go where the people are? Right? Like in my office in the church, it was like without meaning to, there were just like layers and boundaries. And like what was cool about Gainesville, I would say, is that there were people, and some might say this is actually dangerous, but like people just walk in. Like I'd be in my office and some like random person would be standing in front of me. They're like, can I help you? Like, and so I did have some pretty interesting conversations that way. Granted, that's dangerous. Lock your doors, probably. I don't know. But anyway, that could have gone bad, is what I'm trying to say. But, you know, I started to pray a lot. I was like, God, like, is it okay to leave? Like, you start to get to this point where you're like, once you become a pastor, it's like, is it a sin to not be a pastor anymore? Like, you've reached this level that, like, people are always like, that's it. Like your parents are like, my son is a pastor. Oh my goodness. Like, that's what everybody wants, all that whole thing. And it's like, to step down from that is like, is that even okay? Like, once you work for God, it's kind of like, hey, I don't want to work for you anymore, you know?
Like your only
So,
option is to transition to chaplaincy if you want to, maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like,
Or teach.
admin or teach. Yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Which
dude,
even then,
basically,
those get stigma too. It's like, well,
man,
why? It's like, I just wanted to transition in my life. It's okay. But anyways.
yeah. So, man, what I would say, like, where does Jesus show up and like, how do I switch to aviation? Is just like prayer, dude. Like, it's like God, like, open up a door, like, make it so clear, and I would be like, literally, God, like, incapacitate me if I'm wrong, like, like, lay me out, and there's so much in there, but kind of the catalyst or the moment that like I knew something was wrong was um Raquel. Raquel's my wife. I don't know if we said that already, but Raquel one time was like, "You need a vacation," and I was like, "Nah, bro, I can't go on vacation. Like, we can't go anywhere because like when I leave, then there's more work to do. When I come back, I started giving all these excuses and stuff. And like Raquel, I love Raquel for this, man. It's one of her funniest stories. Like she had heard my excuses before, so she goes and then she comes back with like the mirror, literally a mirror. And she points it in front of me. She's like, "Look at yourself." And I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I don't look that good. I do need a vacation, bro." So anyway, we just went on the cruise, is what it was. We just threw that thing on a credit card and
Sorry, I'm
like,
still stuck on. Look at yourself. Anyways.
bro, she was not having it anymore because she had heard my excuses before. So like in the middle of me being like, "Nah, Raquel, like the work is important," but she was like went to the bathroom and came back with a mirror and literally put it in front of me because I was laid out on the couch, bro. I was like, "No, I can't, Raquel." Like I was like so tired.
Done. You were donezo.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And anyway, so we're on this cruise, and like, how do I say this? Like, life just came back to me, bro. Like, I started feeling great and whatever, and like, it was that moment that Raquel and I were like, something's got to change, right? So at the time, Raquel was working from home. She had like a car, and she was like, "Bro, sell my car. You at least need a hobby. So sell my car to fund your dream growing up, which was always to be a pilot." bro, Raquel's a real one, dude. This is about to be a Raquel podcast. She's like, sell my car to follow that like dream, just so that you have something else to do, so that you're not always just worried about what's going on.
You're still pastoring.
Yeah, I was still pastoring at this point. Yeah, yeah. And it was literally at that time just supposed to be a hobby. And anyway, I start flying, I started taking some lessons, and I came home one day and I was like, Raquel, I really like this. Like, it's what I always wanted to do as a kid. Like, you remember in high school, I'd be staring up like, oh, that's a Boeing 737, whatever. Like, it's what I always wanted to do. So I was like, Raquel, this is really awesome. And so at that point, bro, like prayer, 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 like without ceasing, man. Like, is this okay to even do? Is it okay to even consider? Like, if I'm wrong, bro, incapacitate me, God. Like, that kind of a thing. Well, anyway, I'm going to cut the story short. Basically, it got to a point where, like, it was like, no, God is opening the door for us to go. And so we did. And, we told the conference and the church, like, hey, like, thank you, but we're going to, God's calling us to do something else. And so anyway, now I'm flying. How does a pilot, interact with his world after he was a pastor? Or really, how does a Christian pilot interact with his world, man? Like, my biggest thing is that, and you might hear this, with Advent, not just Adventists, dude, honestly, any Christian. I met a few Christians at my school that it's just like, mercy. Like,
Yeah.
we struggle sometimes with being normal or like relevant or approachable. That's the word I'm trying to say. We struggle with
That's
being approachable. So that's just kind of been my thing. I didn't go into school tapping people on shoulders like, "Hi, I'm Ben, and by the way, I used to be a pastor." Like, but social media exists, right? So like as you're making friends, what I started to notice was happening was like I'd meet someone, I see that evening so and so followed you on Instagram, and then the next day they'd be like, "Bro, you were a pastor?" Like, "Oh yeah, yeah, let me tell you about it." They inevitably, man, they would always have questions, which always astounded me as a pastor. It's like when I was a pastor, it's like, bro, people are curious about us. Because when I was doing my flight training in Gainesville, they were like, "Oh, you're a pastor," and like, bro, the amount of conversations I would have, like, I would do my lesson. I'm there for like 2 hours. We'd land, and then my instructor and I, or another instructor, or the manager would be like, "So tell me, like, so you go to church on Saturday, right? Like, what is the deal with that?" And dude, I'd have conversations. Like, I'd be calling Raquel, like, "Hey, I'm gonna be home late because like we're having this conversation." Like 2 3 hours after my lesson is done, I'm telling about the Ten Commandments and Sabbath and like why I don't drink or like all these things. And dude, it was awesome. So that transferred over to my new school. They'd be like, "Dude, you're a pilot. Like, what is that like? Like, you're a pastor. What was that like?" And you know, people would have questions. "So what do you believe?" Dude, one of the coolest conversations I ever had was I met this guy, and he's actually not at the school anymore. He moved. But one of the conversations that I feel like was, sorry, bottle. One of the things that was great was we'd talk, and he and I had this whole thing. And then, bro, like I got a call from one of them later, and he was like, "So like I've been kind of going through this thing right now, and like if I wanted to pray about that, like how would I do that?"
Hmm.
Dude, you pastors kill for those kind of conversations, but you know how hard it is to have those because you're so busy like worrying about the maintenance of the church, or oh man, the roof is leaking or the whatever. Bro, like I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like the people are here. I need to go where the people are. And we stay in touch, he and I, and like every single person that I've met at school, like we've had at least one conversation about faith because they just see on social media like, "Oh dude, you used to be a pastor. Like that's so crazy. You don't act like what I think a pastor would act like. So like,
Not in a
why
bad
are
way,
you
by the way.
not in a bad way?" Yeah, 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 no, no. But dude, the other thing is too, like they respect it. They respect it and they respect my beliefs, which is I think also a lot of times, especially when you've been raised in our system, like you're so scared of like, oh, people are gonna judge you. They're gonna judge you because of who you are. But like you realize when you get out there, people are exposed to so many different belief systems all the time that when you tell them like, "Yeah, dude, I don't drink and I go to church on Sabbath and I don't eat pork," they're like, "Okay." They don't care.
Cool.
Yeah, they're like, "Cool, like this guy over here, he's Muslim and it's the same thing." Like, so yeah, it's stuff like that, dude. And it's been It's been really good. Sorry, I'm just like rambling, but it's like, yeah, I feel like you asked a few questions in one question, so I'm like trying to answer them all.
Yeah.
um, no, you're good. The other thing, one of the things I try to do as much as I can is aviation is awesome. I would recommend if you like planes, whatever, like if that's something you want to do it. But also, I want to be the first to tell you that it can be very discouraging because training is expensive. The industry goes up and down based on the economy. Training can take way longer than you expected. That's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. Like, I really thought that I was going to be all the way done by the time we had kids, but delays happen, man. Weather delays, maintenance delays, you get sick, whatever. It all starts to add up, and it's like, well, I got a kid now, and, I'm almost done, but, I thought I would be done already. So stuff like that happens. People are very discouraged, and so you try to have that Christian optimism, peace is what we call that. You just try to have peace in all things as much as you can, and just kind of be a witness that way. Like, hey, listen, like God didn't bring me this far to fail, so if it's taken a little bit longer, it's in His time.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Another big thing, and I feel like if nothing else, like if for no other reason than I exist in the aviation industry, I want to try to be at least somebody that, like, say you're another pilot and you're going through something. I want to be somebody that you can talk to
Mm.
because kind of a big thing that maybe not a lot of people know within the aviation industry is that the mental health, hopefully I don't freak people out, but it's the truth, but maybe this podcast will be the thing that like people start speaking up for pilots and saying like, hey, you guys need to do better for them. But mental health within aviation is like really tough. Not just pilots, but like air traffic controllers as well, all of that. The reason is because, and like to whoever's listening to this, you may agree or disagree. And there is like obviously some truth where this comes from, but let's say, for example, that you are struggling with depression, okay? And you go and you talk to somebody, like a therapist or whatever, and they diagnose you with something, or even if they don't diagnose you, but just that they have on record, medical record, that you came and talked to them and these are your symptoms, you're not sleeping, you're not eating, having trouble getting out of bed, all this stuff. If the FAA finds out about that, figuratively, they'll take your license and like rip it up in front of you, right? You can effectively just lose your job because you went and talked to somebody about something that you were going through. And I mean, not just that, like it goes deeper than that. Like, let's say that you've been having chest pains, right? And you're like, something doesn't feel right, but you're afraid to go to the doctor because if it is found out that, oh, you have something, or maybe they even prescribe you a certain medication that'll ground you for a long time, even if it's not even something super serious, but it's a medication that grounds you, that's money that you lose. Worst case scenario, you lose your job, right? So
Wow.
the thing about this, and of course there's nuance. If some people will say, no, you can definitely talk to a therapist, and it's like, okay, so do it. And the person's like, oh, well, just to be safe, I'm not going to. Because it's happened multiple times. And man, it can be pretty bad where like even if God forbid like somebody that you really love and care about just like passes away and it's like this is just circumstantial. This isn't like a chronic issue, but it's something that happened. I just want to talk to somebody about it. People have been grounded for that. People have lost their jobs for that. So many pilots just keep it to themselves. So the logic behind that is like, and again, this is where people are like, well, actually, that makes sense. Like, you don't want to put somebody dealing with like severe depression who might do something crazy behind the controls of an aircraft. That makes sense, right? But then that creates this whole circle of like trash where like, man, like I'm not feeling good. Maybe talking to somebody would fix it, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to hold on to it because I don't want them to take my license away. They say I'll do something crazy. So then you just bottle it up, bottle it up so much that you do something crazy. And then they see that as justification for saying, like, see, we told you people who are depressed. So then it's just this whole thing. So, not by any means would I call myself a therapist or whatever, but like, pastors, we've counseled people. Um, And if nothing else, I want to be a person that can just just say like, hey, no, I hear you. This thing really sucks, but you know what gets me through is a hope in Jesus, right? And I've had those conversations with people like a few times. And, you know, these are people who wouldn't normally go talk to somebody, but they feel comfortable to talk to me, you know, or other Christians maybe if they're, you know, approachable and all that stuff. So I think that that is a real important thing. That's how I just basically try to be myself and be available. That's my thing. Somebody from school calls me, like this happened the other day. One of them called me late at night. I'm gonna answer because I don't know what's going on. It ended up being something kind of normal, but it's just that idea like he might be calling me for something bad. Like let me be available.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's powerful. And I'm kind of like speaking on the other, like someone looking on the outside and could say, sometimes when pastors transition to something, like they're like, oh, like they're picking something that's easier or something that's
Yeah,
they don't want this life anymore because they don't want discomfort anymore. Like that's you know what I'm talking about. You know that this is
yeah, 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 yeah.
into, and so they get into a space. But you have literally proving to all the people, it's like, though it's even worse. 'Cause at least in the pastoring, I kind of can still. I mean, I can. You still can go to those things. They're not gonna fire you for going to.
Right, 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 right.
You know, there might be stigmas against it. Whatever. We don't have to break all that down, but at least we could say, hey, like it's not like you went from one thing that was hard to going to another. But the difference is like they're both have their difficulties, they both have their things, but I can say, everyone, you guys weren't there in the time frame of it. I could say that the person I heard over the phone or when we FaceTime before, like I could hear the no peace in it. Like I could hear like the tiredness in your voice. I could hear like you were tired. And then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
person now, like hearing it a few months later, I was like, oh man, like this person's happy. But you're still saying that doesn't mean that there's no challenges. That doesn't mean that there's not its own difficulties. It's saying that
Mhm.
at least you could see how God is using it, and you feel that God is making it meaningful and purposeful and calling you to this. This is powerful. That like people need it. Like you're proving like yes, there are pilots who need this space, and what better person to understand them best than a fellow pilot?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it that like I mean to me it's always kind of been in the biblical model, like these guys, Paul was still a tent maker, fisherman,
Mm-hmm.
like I always tell Carmen like I guess we're here. It's on my pod, so it's fine. But my old thing, like I literally will go through like a Cabela's or like a Bass Pro Shop. And I would tell her, I'd be like, listen, if it all doesn't go well for me, you're gonna find me in a Bass Pro, just working my little heart out, and on weekends doing little light tournaments and whatever that may come about.
Yeah,
Now
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sabbath, I'll still follow, just like days or like during the day,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Things like that. Just saying, like I have something, or doing getting into the chartering world. Like I always have, like, and I like, sorry y'all, like I have a passion as well. Like there's something in there in that
Yeah,
sense,
yeah, yeah.
and God can still use it. Like if there's a day that He calls me out of it, hey, that's leave it up between me and God. But I love that space that you're saying, guys. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't make it like it's a space of saying, even though something's still tough, I'm choosing this, and I still find peace in it because it's where I know I'm supposed to be. Uh,
Yeah.
and there's something powerful in that, and letting young people, and whether it's from pastoring to something else, like I think we're using that as a very specific thing, but some people want to transition from other career, like me transitioning from the security of business to not having the security of business to the what they would call the insecurity of pastor. There were many people who told me, Mike, are you crazy? Like, you have a good life. You have a house in Florida. You have a wife. You have a dog. Your life's fine. Like, why would you need to go into that? So it goes both ways. It's not one or the other. But I'm saying some
Yeah.
people are transitioning from certain jobs that whatever career path it might be, you're giving them hope and saying there is hope on the other side. I know it's tough. I know you've based your whole identity on something like that. Like
Yeah.
base their identity on their first career, and you're doing it well, man. I really appreciate, like, that gives
Yeah.
me hope. You never know what life can bring. So
Well, and there's this thing too, like one of the things I used to think to myself sometimes when I was passing, and I remember I used to ask my peers, like, is anybody else struggling with this? Like, is this something you guys are thinking? Everybody was like, no, I don't have an issue. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, no, me neither. But what it was like I used to be
for a
like,
friend, for a friend, for a friend.
yeah, 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 yeah. A friend, my cousin, he goes to a different school, like that whole thing. No, man, something I used to like struggle with sometimes was like, am I, as a pastor, it's like, am I doing this? And I'm trying to think of an example. Like, I'm just gonna make something up, like a prayer meeting. Sure, why not? Am I doing this prayer meeting right now because I want to, or because it's my job? Like,
That's
if I wasn't being paid, would I be here right now? It started like for some reason that infected like every part of like ministry for me. It was like it went from being something that I was doing out of my own overflow of like, I'm doing my devotion, whatever. Like I have this relationship and I just like you know, the power of Christ compels me to do these things, right? Versus like I'm so exhausted, but it's that time. Like, it's my job. If I don't show up, that kind of a thing. Like, is anybody else like struggling with this? Are you doing this because you want to or because you have to? And I feel that ministry that comes from a place of like, I genuinely like want to be doing this right now is always going to be better.
yeah.
It's always going to go well. So, not that God can't use a tired person. Like, don't get me wrong, because Jesus was also tired at times. Like the man was trying to nap, and people were like, "Hey, Jesus!" Like I'm sure he was like, "Bruh," you know?
There's ideas.
Yeah. But like when you just have a clear purpose of like, I'm here to do this thing simply because God called me to, not because there's a paycheck attached to it. When I stopped receiving a paycheck to like do ministry, suddenly all of that went away. I'm like, it's back. Like the spark is back. Literally nobody else seemed to struggle with that I talked to, but for me that was such a big thing. Like I don't know. I don't know why that was such an issue for me, but it was. And now I just feel like when I'm doing things cuz I'm still pretty involved, doing Sabbath schools and like I'll preach, man. Like if you call me, I'll go, sort of a thing. God put a word on my heart to share, like I'm going to go. And it's like it just feels like it's back and not this like sort of a thing. There is also like I've noticed too, like people, you know, dude. I started noticing this at Southern. It used to frustrate me so much, bro. I think you and I talked about this one time, where it was like I'll get up, for example, and I was a Theo major at Southern, and I'll get up and I'll just tell people like, guys, it doesn't matter what you've done. God loves you, and people be like, yeah, okay, sure. But then the pre-med student is like, guys, it doesn't matter what you've done. God loves you. People are like, oh my gosh, that hit me. I needed to hear that. Like, I just said that. But there's this thing about like people see pastors or CEO majors or whatever, and like they feel like it's expected of them to say those things. So it's like you're saying that because you have to, but look at the world around us. Like you're not living in the real world. But this, pre-med, this business major, this, math major, they're in the struggle bus with me and they have hope. It suddenly is like, whoa. So I have always been a firm believer, because I started clocking that at Southern, that there is almost like a special power, the special Holy Spirit power that, is given out to like normal everyday people
Yeah.
to say the exact same thing that a pastor would say, but it just hits different because nobody is expecting you to say that. But because you're living that truth in your life, because like God is just like your best friend and you're walking with him or whatever, it gives other people hope. Like I may not ever achieve that like elevated seat of a pastor, but like this guy works at my job, and if he has that hope, that means I can also have it. It's not this unattainable thing that only pastors have. um so yeah.
I think it's truly powerful, man. I really, and that's why I can like always kind of go both ways. I feel like because like I was there a few years, like literally in board meetings and other things. I'll be like, guys, I know where you're coming from, like the hesitancy of this idea. And I can speak from, well, sooner or later that's gonna die out because I'm gonna be more of a pastor than was a layperson. But
Sure.
right now you're right, it is to my benefit, and I'll be like, guys, no, it's not a few years back. I remember, like I've been there, I've been on both sides, and so yeah, it's almost like in seminary where I was like, I could understand because I was an unsponsored guy to them being a sponsored guy, but then once I got sponsored, they ain't trying to hear me no more.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you're getting paid to say that.
Well, anyways, the main thing now let's stick fully to flying, like being a pilot. I guess let's get like a final, well, not too final, but like we're getting closer near the end side of the podcast. But what is it for you that you would say is a practical way? Let's get to more of like the general everyday person, because it's the pod that I want, that you're getting right to the heart of it.
Mm.
What is the practical principles? What are the things you're like, listen, from a person who's transitioning into being just like everybody else, what do you take away? What, maybe from what your pastoring background, whatever it may be, wherever you're pulling from, what is the practical way of living for you now as a believer, first and foremost, in whatever area you want to focus on, being a father, primarily a pilot, because the tagline is saying, has a,
Yeah.
but yeah, in any space that you want. But what's the practical, what's the nitty gritty, as natural Libra would say.
Dude, I would say, man, there are, like, kind of like I was saying, people kind of bottle things up. There are a lot of angry pilots. So as a pilot, you're going to go through these tests. Like, and if you go to a certain kind of school, like I do, like a 141, you're going to have like check pilots and they can issue you licenses and things like that. But they're like your peers. Like, I've been tested by people who are like younger than me because they started earlier and all this stuff. And usually if you're doing aviation kind of like on your own, like Part 61, which these are all terms like you could Google it, I guess, but usually you're doing them with FAA designated pilot examiners, and those are typically older, men or women. But at a school like mine, they're peers. And some of those people, like, they do not know how to talk to people, man. Like you leave a conversation with them, or like you leave an exam with one of them, and you're just like, am I trash? Like, they don't know how to talk to people
Yeah.
because they're angry too about whatever else happened to them. So, bro, like, the aviation industry needs Jesus. Like, they need some people who are just like genuinely care about you. If you are if there is by chance another student pilot or something that is listening to this, I'm sure, if especially if they're going to a bigger school like I do, I'm sure they have run across somebody that is just like, where's the love?
Who hurt you?
Yeah, who hurt you and why are you now hurting other people? Like, we need some like generational curse breakers or whatever to just speak kindly to people, to uplift people. There's also this competition, man. Like, I want to finish before you and I'm not going to help you and I'm going to, because I suffered, you need to suffer. And it's like, that's not the gospel, bro. Like, that's not it at all. So, like, I uh, am not with like full-time students, but I am an instructor. So, like, I tutor. And so, like, literally today, man, literally today, there was a student, younger, came right out of high school, who came to me like, hey, can you help me, with this, instrument ground brief, blah, blah, blah. And I'm tutoring him, and I can just see the discouragement and, like, call it like the Holy Spirit intuition or whatever. Just be like, are you okay, bro? Like,
Mm.
why are you here? Why did you come to tutoring today? And, he just went and told me basically kind of what I just told you. Like, I've just been getting beat up. Like, I study so much, like, and like I just keep failing the checks. Like, the checks, they're so rude. Like, they're so angry with me, and because I mess something up, and then they like bounce on it and they beat me up and all this stuff. And listen, in aviation, you need to know what you're doing. So, like, if you're not studying, listen, sometimes you do need to be held accountable, whatever. But like, there's a way to hold somebody accountable, but build them up at the same time. And I think that is a place where like a Christian, somebody who has received grace, can really like enter into a space and build somebody up the way that like maybe like Paul did. Like, Paul was coming and roasting churches,
Mm.
but there was also like, let me edify you. You know what I mean? And so, man, like, I just kind of let him talk, basically like pat him on the shoulder and like, listen, like, these are learning moments, and like, listen, I'm here, take my number, you know, give me a call. Like, if I can help you, I will. You see me around school, I've seen you. Like, we pass each other all the time in the halls. Like, stop me and ask me a question. You do not need to be afraid to ask me a question. Like, you would ask somebody else and they'll call you stupid. I'm not gonna do that. Like, how can I help you? Um, Dude, and in doing that, you end up building trust, you end up building respect. Bro, it is actually crazy. Like, I wish that like I could quantify it in a way. It is crazy. Just doing those things, how inevitably those will turn into spiritual conversations. It just happens, man. Like, you're not pulling teeth, you're not doing anything.
Just happens.
God just, yeah. I pray every day when I get to school. I'm like, listen, this is a secular place. We don't pray before class, that kind of a thing. It's all different kinds of beliefs. Like, just use me the way that you would want me to be used today. And if that means like picking up the pieces of this kid who just failed one of his oral exams, then I'm glad that I was there for that today. If that means like taking, because bro, I got beat up too. I got beat up too coming through this thing where like you had the angry check instructors and like there's so many things that you need to study and you don't know and you just feel bad about yourself. And I wish that somebody would have stopped and like been like, hey man, God called you to this or whatever. So you get to hear people's stories like, so why did you get into this? And I'm talking to this kid, why'd you get into this? And he's like, it's just been my dream. And like you find out, oh, this guy's Christian too. And
Hmm.
listen, if God brought you this far, He's gonna see you through it to the end. And here's my number. If you ever feeling discouraged, give me a call. That's it. That's it. We overcomplicate it, man. We overcomplicate it, and God opens up these avenues, and
You didn't.
that's how I try to live practically as a Christian in a pilot situation. When I become an actual like airline pilot, man, like there's so many jokes and memes and whatever about like when you're stuck in the cockpit with the captain, it's just you and them sitting there. You have some either like really awkward flights or like people say like the deepest conversations you've ever had at like 32,000 cruising along. And like, dude, with discernment, bring up your like who you are. If somebody asks you, so like how'd you get into it? I can't tell this story without mentioning how like I was a pastor before and like we prayed and God opened the door and all that stuff. So then, dude, like just be yourself. Your story is God's story. His fingerprints are all on it. So like wherever you are, like I'm in the aviation space. Somebody else might be in the, I don't know, they might be like a nurse or something. And listen, I'm sure someday you'll have a nurse on here. That is a real ministry pool right there. But anyway, your story is God's story. It's gonna come up, you know. If you just own it unapologetically, like I'm here because God brought me here, that is gonna open up some questions, bro. Like people are gonna be like, tell me more about that. Because you might have a captain who's sitting on your left who was like, yeah, I used to go to church. And this has happened to me at school too. Like I used to go to church, but it was whack and it was this and it was that. And I was like, hey man, what you're telling me is not the gospel. Let me tell you what it is.
Hmm.
You know? So anyway, that's all my thoughts, just kind
No,
of
that's awesome.
random. I'm trying to pull them in.
That's amazing. That's the idea there. It's like, yeah, like I was gonna mention, and they're like, oh, so you weren't trying to baptize the guy at the back hangar pond somewhere?
Dude, I've had jokes too where like people like, so you were a pastor before, like, how does that transfer over? And I'm gonna get on the PA to be like, this is your captain speaking. We're either gonna baptize one of you or we're gonna run out of fuel. So which one's happening first? Like we're not landing till somebody gets dunked.
He said, I'll baptize this whole plane right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah, your flotation device. Your seat can be used as a flotation device. We're getting baptized right now.
No, and that's powerful. It's saying like it's a purpose driven life. It's a way of saying, man, like I'm not gonna force it, and you truly have to trust in God because it could go south real fast. Like it could, if you just try to go in there like proselytizing every morning, it's like
Yeah,
this is
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's not going to go well. But your idea is saying, Lord, like, I really want to see you. What I'm hearing you say is, I want to hear you change lives. God, just use me. Because sometimes we can, again, in the spiritual space, because we're in it all day, every day, we kind of start thinking, like, I'm doing something here.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, you're acting in it, you're doing it, but, like, it's not you doing, like, we want to say, like, it's the Lord, it's God doing something in your life, using.
Yeah.
do it. But yeah, in your case, you literally have to trust him because if not, it can get weird. It can get
Yeah.
awkward. And then your reputation in the aviation space could just get super cringy, super weird really fast. And so,
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, I think it's inspiring to a lot of other people, especially the lay people, maybe other pilots, other people doing other jobs. Like, yeah, how do I do this while being cringy? How do I do this without being, it's the big like they don't want to feel cringy. They don't want to feel inauthentic. I mean, no one wants to feel. I don't care what generation you are. No one wants to feel inauthentic. So,
Right. Yeah, man. It's like the thing too, like as an instructor, like you are, how do I say this? You're pouring into people. And there's so many horror stories of being like, my CFI yelled at me and they made me feel bad about myself and whatever. And it's like, there is a way to teach and hold people accountable in a Christ-like way, you know? And then like just another like kind of other side thing, when you're out in the real world, it's not a bad idea to brush up on other religions. Don't just be like, I'm only going to study what I believe, because then somebody's going to ask you a question about transubstantiation, and you'll be like, what the heck is that? Right?
yep.
Because your church doesn't do that, but theirs does. And like, brush up on a little bit here and there so that when somebody asks you a question, do you guys believe in this or that? You have an educated answer, That's been good. That's been one of my buddies, not that I'm trying to like, I don't want to say, I'm not that I'm trying to like make him a Christian or whatever, but like a friend of mine at school is Muslim, and he's been surprised when he says, something about the Quran. I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that, and he's like, really? Like, you know what I mean? So it's that opens a whole conversation too. He and I, we get along real well, and like, dude, there was this other guy I met one time, and he's like, I am. What did he say he was? He was like, I am a fundamental like Southern Baptist. We believe in like basically like something about like hellfire and like whatever. Like, what do you believe? And I was like, basically the opposite of everything that you believe. Like, yeah, and that was a really good conversation too. That was fun. So anyway,
Yeah, you have this thing of like you don't have to feel the pressure of like right now, as we know, like Adventism has a lot going on for it online. We've always kind of been in that space, so that is what we are. I get that, but like, yeah, what you're saying is like I don't have to like heavily defend it against something when I understand everyone else. When I begin to understand everyone else, I could just say, hey, here's where we're similar, but here's where we're different, and like becomes this healthy, not a well, we know the truth, brother, and like it's not a space of of like who's got it better. It's more of a space
hmm
saying, hey, if it hasn't worked for you here, I mean, that's fine. Like, here's an area that's been working for me, and let's talk about it.
yeah,
Or just talk about it. Maybe there's nothing wrong or right. It's just trying to be an open space for people. I know some people are uncomfortable in the church about like talking even that way, but I think it's healthy. I think people feel respected. They feel loved when you say, "Hey, I took the time to get to know why you believe what you believe. I don't disrespect it." Because a lot of people do disrespect people, or well, they do disrespect people, but they disrespect other people's beliefs just because they don't understand it, and it's not fair. It's like at least get to know me before you discard me.
yeah. Dude, at the end of the day, the greatest tool that we have is like, I would say testimonial, but like people want to be able to see a change. Like for example, I think it was like Louis Giglio or something who said this one time, and I've never been able to like think about it a different way when it comes to like how the gospel has changed your life. So like you could produce a weight loss pill, right? And it is just like super Ozempic or whatever, but like zero side effects. Like it's just like it's the greatest thing of all time. And you go around just telling people like you hold up the box like this is the way. This is the way you gotta do it. Nobody's gonna buy that, bro. When they'll buy it is when like dozens and dozens of people start losing weight and being like, bro, I took this pill and I lost all the weight and I feel great. So like people are attracted to transformation. They're attracted to like the testimony. You could spend all day going through like, and this chemical does this for you and that does this and blah 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 blah. But until people actually see it work, honestly, bro, think about like 10 years ago. Like, I don't even know how old Ozempic is, but like the reason Ozempic is like a household name now is because every.
Mm.
So, anyway.
Yeah, I think that's it's just a crazy space. And if we I love the way that you're going about it, and it's saying, listen, I'm gonna be Ben, I'm gonna let the Lord lead me. There's nothing, yeah, when you do it at the level and space that you know God is actually leading you in, it doesn't become disingenuous, it doesn't become inauthentic. It's just who you are, and you work on that part of you. I think that, yeah, that's what people need. So yeah, thank you. I think that's a powerful journey. You wouldn't even expect it. It's like sometimes you're like, okay, what, other than, I mean, you would think, in my mind, I think before I was even having this conversation, I was like, well, like, they're always so focused on the checks and the thing and all the, like, they're so focused on stuff that would you even have a chance to do that? But you're proving to me that no, there is so much space for it. And yeah, just do life with people. And it looks like there's a big opportunity here. Who knows? One day I could be talking to the next person who started like a revolutionary way of training pilots. And I mean, I know me, I'm a big dreamer, but you're probably like, brother, I'm just trying to get my license here, dog. I just want to do life here. But you never know. Sometimes God could lead you into spaces where it's like, man, I wanted you to be a voice in this industry to maybe it is, or maybe it's more simple than that. I'm just like, I like to think in the big space. Ben's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
brother, don't you put that on me right now, brother.
I'll
But
go wherever
but no,
he tells me to go.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's awesome. And man, I guess the last thing, what would be like if this was like the final thing you want people to take away from our conversation today? What do you want people to leave? The one thing you're like, I want everyone to leave with this, and then after that I'll ask for you to share your how people to contact you. But start with that. What do you
Hmm.
want people to leave with here?
I feel like this whole thing really stems from like, where is God leading me in life? Because at the time, bro, if I had gone right into aviation, like right out of high school, like I originally wanted to, I don't think that I would have this spiritual foundation that I do have. Some people are like, dang, bro, you wasted all that time doing theology and MDiv and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't really see it that way. Because, like, I have a strong foundation now. So I think God led me through that. I know what I believe and I'm like rooted in it. And I've learned a lot about how to study the Bible and whatever. I'm pretty well equipped. So there's that. B, I don't think that I'd have like the friends or the community that I have if I didn't go to college like that. And then C, definitely, well, I don't know. I can't speak definitively, but I probably wouldn't have married Raquel. There's all these things like things happen for a reason to set you up for success, you know. So there's that. I do think that I was led through that. I think I was led through pastoral ministry. I learned so much, man. Like I've learned so much about our church. I've learned so much about how to talk to people. I've learned how to meet people in like the best parts of their life and the worst part. And then now coming and being a CFI, there are finally some transferable skills from pastoral ministry into aviation where it's like, listen, I know how to talk to people. I know how to care about people. You know what I mean? So, and then having God praying, like, is it okay to switch careers? Like, is it okay to like do this whole thing? And being able to pray in a way that you have like peace, being like, no, God opened this door. This isn't just me like following some weird whim because like we prayed about this for like a year straight, you know? So my thing with that is like you guys just if you're trying to figure out what God is calling you to do in your life, like don't just pray like God, let me know what you want. Like pray some crazy stuff. Like I literally was like, God, take me out. Crazy
Yeah.
stuff. I remember being like, God, if you want me to like stay or something, like show up in my apartment like a ball of light. Like, speak to me clearly. Like I don't want to accidentally take a step out of something that you don't want me to do.
Yeah.
Like do something insane, like that I couldn't even. And like, dude, like things happen. Like the part of the story that I didn't say was like, first of all, asking God, like, you know, if you want me to go try to do like something at a different church, open that door. Bro, less than a month later, without applying, without putting the feelers out, I got a call from another church. And like there's more to that story too, where like that ended up not working out, blah blah blah. But like it's crazy. Like you pray and things happen, right? So
Mm.
like taking that same thing and being like, God, like take a seat in my chair right now and like tell me what you want. Like I'm ready, break my legs, like do crazy stuff. God, let me know what you want. And dude, after you've done stuff like that, like there's just this that in the Bible, that peace that passes understanding, bro. Like people are like, you're gonna leave a job because like you were talking about like security and like now you're going to seminary. Mine was I have a paycheck and I'm gonna throw that away and take out a loan to go to school again. Like,
Yeah.
but there's peace in that, man. There's peace.
But you see God in it. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's kind of saying like I think you've come to that place of saying like what I do does not define who I am, but who I am defines what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
a
like
good one.
aviation, there's been moments where I want to pull my hair out for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I know that I was brought here, so like I'm gonna be okay. People at school right now are like, bro, the economy. Oh my gosh, hiring is slowed down at the airlines. They're like, okay, I'm still gonna get a job. Like it'll be fine. Like because like God brought me here. So there's like that
Yeah.
weird peace that passes understanding. Everybody else like, dude, how are you so chill right now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You've seen him move in space. Yeah, you're like I've been able to move before, and if I need to move again, I'll move again. Like you'll do what you have to do, and that's powerful. Yeah, I think a lot of people again, yeah, that's like sometimes we'll stay in a place that we hate just for the just not the. I'm not putting that to you, but I'm saying there are other people
Yeah,
like
no, I
I
get what
know.
you're saying.
I'm putting that to friends and family who like can be yours was like well there's I can do this or I can do this, but some other people are literally like no I hate my life right now. I hate this, and they won't step
Right.
out because they're like I think this is all God has for me. I think this is and sometimes there's a place in that we sometimes do have to take a leap of faith and a risk and not base it off of like anything else but God's discerning, spirit in that. And so I guess another pod would be
Yeah.
like, well, how do you discern that? How do you but I think it's what you said, keep pouring into it. If you don't hear anything, keep going. Just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
talking.
Just keep upping the ante, man. That's like the best thing I could say. Just, dude, I'm telling you, they can ask Raquel. I started praying some crazy stuff. I was like, pop all my tires, like, you're like, whatever. Stop me in my tracks. Like, don't let me leave. Like, whatever. Dude, crazy
Blind me
stuff.
on the road to Damascus if you need to, Lord.
Literally, bro. Literally. There were times too, I like, and this is like in more of a pastoral thing. I'd be like, God, if what I am about to preach isn't right, take my ability to speak. Like, you know, if what I'm saying is like, not that I was trying to preach heresy, but like sometimes there'd be things like certain situations that I'm like, man, do I need to address this from the pulpit or whatever? Is that just me? Like, is that my own personal thing? Or like, are you asking me to say something? And so I'd be like, if you're not like, have me go up there and be like, happy Sabbath. Like, you know what I mean? Like, take away my ability to speak. But, God always answers, man. He's always faithful.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for always being Ben, man. You always are authentic, transparent, and yeah, people need to hear this, man. I think there's a space where people struggle with that. They making a life decision, basing your career has a lot to play, and I think that's why I want to focus the pod on this. Like again, not letting it be your identity, but letting your identity flow through it, letting God
Hmm.
define your identity in what you're doing. That's okay, but like you can get to the point of like I'm almost gonna use this Ace Ventura. I think we used to laugh at this thing, but like when they're like, "Hey, if I were you, I would like get down from there." He's like, if I were you and you were me, I'd still do it. So you can't stop me who you
Yeah.
are." Like
Yeah.
essentially, you should
Yeah.
do that with all your career paths. Like, it don't matter
Yeah.
where you put me, God, I'm gonna follow you through and through. And there's beauty in that. I think there's a space of saying, like, Lord, like, maybe one day you're not gonna be in this. Who knows? We might have a different call one day, and
Yeah. Yeah.
vice
Yeah.
versa for me.
It's like
And it is
I'm a follower of Jesus first and then a pastor. And I'm a follower of Jesus first and then a pilot, like that has to come first, yeah.
so
So
there's
no
a
matter what
space of
I'm doing, I'm still going to be a follower of Jesus because that's my identity, not the other thing.
no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to be led by Jesus. So yeah, it's a space. But that's the kind of confidence we're going to talk about, not in like our own abilities, but more so in saying like, God, wherever you have me, I know that you're with me. I know that you're going to do something with me, and I want to be open to that no matter what. And so, yeah, man, I think that's beautiful. I don't think I can get any better than that. It's pretty practical, straight to the point. And so thank you, man. I think we're getting close to it here. And so I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for just sharing your story. I know some parts of it can feel personal, but thank you. People need to know that because, we don't know where people stand. I mean, these days, some people have been staying in places that just isn't where God has for them anymore. And we just
Yeah.
kind of like hurt ourselves, hurt our family, hurt the place we're staying at we don't do anybody any favors by not being where God needs us to be. And
Yeah, man.
so that's a beautiful space to be in. And I'm just going to keep getting encouraged by that. And you're still my pastor, brother. Just want to say, I call Ben and he still gives me advice because, I'm still pretty new here. And, he gives me a lot of beautiful advice, not in any of that. Actually, there's some people, I would say, not to call anybody out, but there's some still in ministry that sound way more negative about being in ministry than Ben being out of it. Which is funny. So it's been great. I just wanted to say that to people that like, man, like I still use you as a beautiful resource. So when it's, you counsel me at times, I'll call you, hey man, like I'm thinking about this, and you're like, yeah, I've been there before, or I haven't, or I've had a friend that did that, and that's fine. And like this, you give me a lot of
Hmm.
beautiful advice on that. So I always appreciate that in a transition. You're one of the few of my friends that in a transition, it was very healthy, it was very beautiful. It's like, hey, like no hard feelings, but this is where God has me for it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I can't say the same for a lot of well, yeah, a lot of other people that I know, and so thank you for that, Ben. I appreciate that, and just your integrity, always following God, no matter what. Oh, my last thing, my last thing for everyone. Where if you want people to follow, sometimes I want to give people that option, like if
Yeah.
your conversation where they want to contact you or follow you, or if you want me to just plug it in the description. But if you think, hey, find me on Twitter, well, X, whatever, find me on Instagram or whatever it may be, however you like people to follow up with you. I just like to give people a plug to, hey, if they want to follow your stuff and
Yeah.
see and talk to you about your story.
Well, I don't really have like content to like, whatever. But if you want to just find me, my Instagram is just Ben underscore Curet, Curet. We could chat on there or something, but you know, I I just tried to be a student pilot right now. I wasn't trying to spread myself too thin and be like, let me create like shorts and no, 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 no. Let me just focus on one thing, and then maybe someday I'll do something. But I am on Instagram. If you just want to talk to me, you can find me there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's there for. Thanks again, Ben. I really appreciate it. And thanks for everyone who's been listening, following. Man, we're gonna get back to a consistent schedule. I said on the last episode, but we're here. We're back. Jesus on a John boat. And thank you, Ben, for being here again. And thank you for all for listening and supporting. Do all the things, as I say, like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions or any comments, please comment down below. We want engagement. So, thank you. Or if you're listening to it on Spotify, well, I think there's a comment box on. Is there a comment box on Spotify, Ben?
I think they do have one now. I think they do have one now.
I'll have to learn
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
check that.
You gotta
They're probably
you gotta do the YouTube sign off. Don't forget to obliterate that like button. Destroy my comment section.
all the things. All the
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Ben, thanks again. All right, everyone. Stay blessed. All right, see you till next time.
See you.